Hello and welcome to another edition of Luminar Coffee Break. I'm your host, Vanelli. Now, our topic today is how to pose and edit group photos. Now, the example we'll use is for a band. So, I photographed this band a couple times, and their original name is Caddyshack, but because we had the special Arrow, the TV show Arrow was coming to Orlando, Florida, they had to audition bands locally to be part of the show. So they came up with a clever name of the band, and they called it Oliver's Tweed. So the goal was to dress the team up like Arrow, and that was part of the whole mantra or the whole setup of the band and the whole dynamics of it. They absolutely did phenomenal. So I'm going to show you the theory on how we set this up, when to photograph individual people in group photos, or when to photograph the entire group in one shot, and then how we did editing. All right, so let's begin. I'm sharing my screen here. Hello everyone, welcome, it's great to see you. All right, now please do me a favor for the producers. If you love what we're doing, please hit that thumbs up. All right, so here we are with the group. I just selected a few of my favorites. Now, we're going to do this one right here. This is Caddy, and here are the other three band members. When I photographed all of them together or individually like this, the purpose of it was in case something went wrong, because this was such a big event. If one of the band members got sick, we could easily take them out and then replace them with somebody new. All right, I know it sounds harsh to say that, but it was a big event and they had to have a backup plan. So we photographed each one of these individually. All right, so now you see the individual images, and of course for this I used Photoshop to extract them from the background. Since I knew we were photographing this on a dark background, let me show you the images here. We photographed them on black. All right, so by photographing them on black, you don't notice the imperfections. So let me do this to show you. Notice the imperfections around the hair. It's not the greatest, but we don't need it. And why waste our time going overboard fixing little things like that no one's ever going to notice, because it's going to blend into the background. So with that being said, notice what we did again. We photographed them all individually. They all had different poses. So I'll use Luminar here again. So I had them all in different poses, just doing different things until we felt we had what we wanted. And I knew we were going to do a couple individual shots versus the team shots. So let's come back down here. We'll use Todd here as an example. So here's the shot that we used with Todd. All right. Well, I could also use that here as his individual shot. I could also use it here with a group shot. So do you see how by doing individual photos, not only are we able to put them all individually into where we wanted them, but we're also able to make other posters or other concepts, or do other concepts with them. Now, with that being said, here are some of the issues though. This is what it would look like without any Luminar whatsoever. So right now, like I said, I'm in Photoshop. We use Photoshop to create the background right here, to create the background here. Then on the background itself, yes, I use Luminar to add the special effects to it. Now we put the people into place. From here, now that I have them all in place, let me make sure, good, I have them all in place. What I need to do is flatten the image so all of them are in one scene. So, boom, we got rid of all of this. Now, why is that important? Because right now this looks totally fake. You know, it just looks like you photographed in 4 individuals. The lighting doesn't look the same, which it should, because they were shot under the same lighting conditions, but things happen. it just doesn't look finished. This is where we're going to use Luminar to tie it all into place, all right? So I'm going to right click on the layer we just merged. Now I selected all of these layers from here down, and then from here, I use keyboard shortcut Control Shift Alt E, and that flattens it, or just right click, and we can put create a group from the layers, all right? Or, I'm sorry, that's going to create a group. We don't want that. We want to, let's see, so I do it so many times that I love the shortcut. I forget how to do it from here. So let's see if it's over here. Here we go. I convert to layers. So we can do it from here. And now I'm going to convert that into the layers that I want, all right? So that was just a couple, again, that's a Photoshop tip, and now I'm going to fire up Luminar because I did that. So what I did was, again, I copied the layers that I wanted and made that into its own layer. Now by running Luminar, what Luminar is going to do for us is it's going to create or change the look for us. Let me edit it, and then it's going to edit it back out. And here we are. So what I need to do right now is I'm going to Control Z, because I didn't want that to happen. And what I wanted to do was keep it up in here for you to show you. All right? So again, copy those, put it onto its own layer, right click. I want to create or convert this to a smart object. Now that it's a smart object, I could use Luminar as a smart filter. And that's what I did up in here. But I wanted to show you how I did it. So now if I come in, filter, Luminar AI, it's going to launch Luminar for me, and then from there, I can make my changes. Now, what if you don't have Photoshop? You can still use Luminar 4 for layers, any program that has a layer base to it. Then from the templates, I've already created the template for us to save time, and I'll show you what I did with that template. So I'm going to come down over here, user templates, and it was called the band. All right. Now that I have that set, edit. Let's see what it's doing here. There we go. And again, this is a very low res image because I wanted to keep it small for what we're doing. I'm going to dial this back just a bit just to make it to where I have it, to where it looks good for what we need. Now, let's come over here and see what I did. We used Accent AI and, of course, the vignette. But here's where the bread and butter comes in. Right here, dramatic. Look at this. Dramatic is the tool that gives me that grit or the gritty type look that I'm going for. And then the saturation, I brought it way down and brought the brightness up. Toning, I turned it off, but here it is. If I wanted to apply a color cast or without a color cast, it's very minute. And mystical was another one. Look at this. So mystical gives me that blurry type soft look to the image that I'm going for. And then click apply. Once I hit apply, it'll take my Luminar edit and bring it back into Photoshop. And here we are. All right. Now I did something right here. I'll have to check that out in a minute. I think because I kept the image res a little bit lower. That box should not be there. There we are. All right, and so here we are with the image itself. Now, why is this so important? By doing individual shots like this, because again, I can create so many more posters or merchandise for the band by having individuals. Now, let me go into Luminar for a moment. With that being said, I shot people in the band, another group, and we're right here. All right? I did something different with this group. Instead of photographing them all individually because we didn't have the budget nor the time. We posed them to how they wanted. And then from here, we'll select one of these, one of these images here. And then from there, we'll do all the editing. Now, what's the downfall with that? I can't make I can't just copy a piece from here and make him his very own card. Same thing with Todd and the rest of them. But we knew that going in. A couple other things you have to be careful about when you're doing this is if they go off the edge. Let's go here. So notice his arm is just off the gray and onto the light. That's going to be a pain in the neck. And I can do it and cut it out, but it's not going to be as simple as me telling them, hey, guess what? Let's reposition here. Bring that arm in. Now I have them on the gray. So from here, for me to cut them out of this, it's going to be so much easier than if I have to do something like that, or worse, these here. There's no way we were going to be able to get this shot. With the lens I was using and the space I had, look at this. This would be a nightmare to try to cut around. We could do it, but why do it if we just bring them down and have them do a different pose? So what I'm getting at here is learn the limitations of what you have for your set. And don't, when you're editing stuff like this, don't look at what you see. Look at what you want it to be. So when you're doing creative edits, again, don't look at what you actually see on the screen. In your mind, visualize how you want it to be. And like I said, in this case here, I know I can cut them out of this easily and then do my edits, from there. So let me open it up for discussions here. Let me do this real quick. All right. Okay, good. So Julie asked, will this work with Photoshop Essentials? And I don't have Photoshop. I only use Luminar. So if you do have Photoshop Essentials, again, if it has layers, it'll work with any layer-based program. Thank you, Diana. Good. All right. So, again, if you have any questions whatsoever, please leave them in the comments below. We'll try to answer them. Even after the show, we'll try to answer them to the best of our ability. All right? So, again, this lesson was mainly on how do you approach multiple group shots. Now, I've done this many a times for sports. For the sport teams, I individually photograph all the, let's say, lacrosse players from the team, and then put them all together into a banner. Now, in a case like that, what's really cool is you could take one person, put them in the front, make them just a little bit bigger than everybody else, and boom, they look like they're the captain of the team. And then you can sell that poster to that particular person as if they're the captain. Swap them out, put another person, sell it to this person as the captain of the team. And it just adds more variety to what you're doing, and it gives more customization, individual photos. Now, with that being said, it is more work. If you want to get in quick, snap the shot, throw the filter on, you're done in 15 minutes, that's great. If you want to take it a step further, that's where the individual stuff comes in. All right? And so, now, if for Julie, let me know what type of project you're working on, and I'll see if I can help you with that. So shoot me an email. And let's see. Let me pull this up here. Oh, okay, good. So how can we blur the background? So in a case like this, let me pull this right up here. We created the background, right? There we go. So here's where we created the background. Oh, let me share my screen for you. So here we created the background. Now that the background's on a separate layer, it's entirely up to you on how you want to blur it. From here, I'm going to select all of the ones down here. Shift, Control, Alt, the letter E. Now I duplicated that to its own layer. So see how it's independent? If you're in Photoshop, Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. That's way too much. Right about, boom. So you could blur it from here. If you wanted to do it inside Luminar, then from there, you would go into the creative tools. Let me pull it up real quick here. And with the creative tools, it's one of those, here we go, under glow. Potential. So under glow, we have the Orton effect and we have soft focus. So soft focus and the Orton effect will blur the daylights out of that background for you. All right? So I hope that answers your question on that. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, hey, thank you so much for joining me. And again, this tutorial was on concepts and theories as a photographer, and then how to use Luminar to enhance or create the program, and then Photoshop to put it together more like much like an ad layout program to where you're laying out where you want them to be. All right? Well, hey, thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you at the next coffee break.